he is probably the toughest man in the U.S. Marine Corps, capable of suspending his body effortlessly in a swimming pool, while the recruits right in front of him actually need to be weighed down with dumbbells. Seeing that they already hold their breath for half an hour, the recruits cannot take it anymore and give up one after another, yet his expression remains completely unchanged. After getting out of the water, James gives the recruits a harsh tongue lashing and orders them to resume training in 30 seconds. Right at this moment, a subordinate brings a piece of bad news, informing him that James's father, Walter, passed away in an accident. According to the preliminary investigation at the scene, it is a hit-and-run caused by a drunk driver. But little does he know, this is by no means a simple accident, but rather a cold-blooded unaliving. Today, I bring you the action comedy film, The Wrecking Crew, starring Hollywood tough guys Dave Bautista and Jason Momoa. James also has a half-brother named Jonny, and due to a massive personality clash, the two brothers have not seen each other for over 20 years. Unable to swallow his pride, he does not take the initiative to contact Jonny to inform him of their father's passing. Seeing that James is caught in a dilemma, his wife Layla takes matters into her own hands and calls Jonny. Upon learning about his father's demise, Jonny shows no signs of grief, as in his memory, his father seems to have exited his world a long time ago. Since their father's funeral takes place tomorrow, Layla expresses her hope that Jonny can make an appearance. While talking on the phone with Layla, Jonny heads to the restroom to take a leak. Suddenly, two mobsters break into his home and press a knife against Jonny's neck, claiming that Walter mailed him a package right before he died and threatening him to hand it over. Jonny only remembers seeing his father as a child, so he absolutely refuses to believe the old man would mail him anything. But the mobsters do not give a damn about that, strictly demanding that Jonny hand something over so they can return and report to their boss. Realizing that reasoning with them is a lost cause, Jonny throws hands without saying another word. The two scrawny thugs are absolutely no match for him, getting knocked flat on the floor in just a couple of moves. Immediately after, another thug wielding a gun shows up and fires wildly inside, yet he runs completely out of bullets without hitting Jonny once. Using one of the thugs as a human shield, Jonny pins the gunman firmly against the door panel. To his surprise, this crew of thugs is incredibly resilient, getting back up on their feet to launch another assault. After taking care of the trouble, Jonny arrives at his father's funeral. Little does he expect that aside from them, another gang is also keeping a close eye on their movements. It turns out that Walter was a private investigator who held secrets concerning both sides of the law, so now that he is gone, they naturally come knocking on the door. At the dining table, Jonny states that he did not come to mourn his father, but rather to uncover the truth behind his death, because gang members already paid him a visit, even attempting to put him 6 feet under. He believes his father's death is by no means an accident, but highly likely interferes with someone's financial interests. However, James feels that Jonny is just stirring up trouble, maintaining that the official record states it was a hit and run, which cannot possibly be wrong. The two brothers never get along in the first place, and in James's stereotypical view, his younger brother is nothing but an impulsive, loose cannon. Not wanting to embarrass everyone, James calls his brother outside to have a private chat. The always level-headed James insists that the police report cannot be wrong, believing that his brother's sudden appearance is purely meant to disrupt his life. Disagreeing sharply with each other, the two get into a massive shouting match. Ditching his older brother, Jonny heads out completely on his own to investigate. He goes to a bar to drown his sorrows, only to get roofied and knocked unconscious after knocking back a single drink. By the time he regains consciousness, his hands and feet are already tightly bound. The culprit is a local gang leader known as Mr. K. Mr. K does not welcome Jonny's arrival at all, giving him a strict 7 days to pack up and leave, warning him that if he is still around by then, he faces the consequences. Meanwhile, James reconsiders his brother's perspective and tracks down Detective Rennert, who is in charge of the case, to fish for some information. However, Detective Rennert informs James that because that area is relatively impoverished, there are no eyewitnesses on the scene, no surveillance cameras, and not even a forensic autopsy, meaning they merely jump to a reckless conclusion based on surface-level evidence. Seeing how things stand, James demands to reclaim his father's personal belongings. Before he departs, Detective Rennert warns him that his father Walter was a highly respected man, whereas his younger brother is notoriously disreputable, adding that he does not wish to see the two brothers squander all the goodwill Walter built up. Jonny arrives at his father's detective agency and just as he is rummaging through the place to see if there are any useful documents, the sound of the door opening suddenly echoes from outside. Hiding in a corner to observe quietly, he catches sight of a man frantically searching for something in a panic. The moment Jonny steps out from the shadows, the man grabs an object to hurl at him before turning on his heels to make a run for it. Jonny gives chase immediately, never expecting that this man is actually quite agile, reaching the ground level in no time. Before making his escape, he does not forget to hurl a mocking insult at Jonny. Just when he thinks he shook Jonny off, the very next second. It turns out that Pika is Walter's assistant, specializing in gathering evidence and snapping covert photographs on his behalf, with his final assignment being to land a job at a high-end restaurant. Afterward, they return to the detective agency once again. Jonny notices a surfboard tucked away in the corner, wondering why an old man with bad knees owns a surfboard. Picking it up curiously to inspect it, he unexpectedly discovers secret documents hidden right inside it. Spreading the documents across the table for a closer look, it turns out to be an architectural blueprint. Jonny believes there must be some sort of clue inside, so he dials his sister Honolulu, who works for the government, asking her to look up exactly what this map is intended for. Pika initially intends to make an excuse to slip away, but unexpectedly, James suddenly bursts into the detective agency, causing his already injured nose to suffer yet another blow. After leaving the police station, James reviews his father's personal effects, finding nothing but a single receipt covered in completely chaotic handwriting. Arriving at the crime scene completely clueless, he turns his head and notices that an adult novelty shop is equipped with a surveillance camera. Through a mix of intimidation and coercion, he successfully gets his hands on the footage from that night. They review the footage, and since it is glaringly obvious that the incident is a premeditated unaliving, they instruct Pika to track down that blue van. But right while they are driving down the road, they are suddenly rammed and flipped over by another vehicle, and the ones sitting inside that car happen to be the Japanese mob. Their vehicle is tightly pinned down by them, leaving them with no way to break free. Jonny manages to grab a handgun to return fire with great difficulty, only to discover that the enemy's car is completely bulletproof. James gets a hold of a handgun and takes out the arrogant mobsters with 2 precise shots. Jonny pushes the door open to step out of the car, looking for cover while protecting nearby pedestrians at the same time. Seeing that their car is about to be completely overturned, James grabs a pistol, climbs onto the roof, and spots the perfect timing to leap onto the opponent's hood, firing continuously at the windshield in a desperate attempt to smash his way through. The mobsters inside the car also fire back through the windshield to see who can execute the other first. Noticing this dangerous duel, Jonny yells at James to jump off the vehicle immediately. Despite such a massive commotion being kicked up, Rennert, instead of investigating the Japanese mob, places all the blame on the James brothers for stirring up trouble. With the assistance of Honolulu, they trace the origin of that blueprint, discovering that it belongs to a real estate developer named Robichaud. The blueprint outlines a casino development, which poses a serious issue since gambling is strictly illegal in this small town. Sensing that something shady is definitely going on, James and Jonny decide to pay a little visit to this guy named Robichaud. And as luck would have it, he hosts a fundraising event tomorrow. The following day, Jonny receives a phone call from Pika, who informs him that he located that blue van, except it was dragged out of the ocean, and the driver is already deceased. The driver was a low-level accountant for a government department, and the vehicle is officially registered under the name of Hayashi Imports. Aside from this piece of information, nothing else is known, causing the trail to seemingly go cold right here. The two brothers realize that the situation already spirals completely out of control and involves an increasingly massive web, meaning they must pick up their pace. Subsequently, under Pika's arrangements, they successfully infiltrate Robichaud's mansion. However, they do not enter as guests, but rather disguised as catering waiters. Jonny catches sight of Robichaud's wife, Monica, and subsequently steps forward to strike up a conversation with her. During their chat, Monica learns that he is Walter's son and promptly dismisses her henchman. It turns out that she knew Walter, yet she has absolutely no idea that Walter passed away. She previously hired Walter to investigate her husband, Robichaud, because she needed some leverage for their upcoming divorce, though financial assets are not what she is after. Since this place is overcrowded with too many prying ears, Monica makes an appointment to discuss the details with him at a hotel tomorrow. At the exact same time, James keeps a sharp eye on his surroundings while washing dishes. Just then, a man approaches him to ask for a plate, dumps some illicit goods onto it, and strolls away. Taking advantage of the moment when the man is not paying attention, James covertly snatches his business card, which is printed with the words, Hayashi Imports. Soon enough, their covers are completely blown, and they are brought directly before Robichaux. Upon learning that they are Walter's sons, Robichaux also claims that he once hired their father, stating that he tasked Walter with an investigation because he suspected his wife of having an affair. Since they completely lack any solid evidence, James and Jonny have no choice but to leave empty-handed in utter disappointment. The next day, Jonny heads over to meet Monica, full of anticipation, only to find a massive crowd gathered around the hotel entrance. Realizing that something is terribly wrong, he hurries over to check. Sure enough, Monica falls from a high floor and loses her life tragically. Jonny instantly believes that Robichaux is the one behind the deed, storming over in a fit of rage to settle the score with him. But even though his combat capability is incredibly formidable, when faced with the opponent's sheer advantage in numbers, he is still left completely helpless. Robichaux does not permanently eliminate Jonny, choosing instead to hand him over to the police to handle. Fortunately, his uncle, who happens to be the governor, steps in, which finally convinces Robichaux to drop the charges. James blames his brother for acting recklessly, while Jonny criticizes his older brother for being too rigid, and before they know it, they throw hands after a brief disagreement. After blowing off some steam, they each voice the deep-seated grievances buried in their hearts. Years ago, Jonny's mother is framed by a gang and loses her life tragically on the streets, prompting Jonny, in order to avenge his mother, to storm into the gang's stronghold completely single-handed. In order to protect his younger brother, James had no choice but to send him away. Jonny blames his older brother for not letting him see their mother one last time, which creates a massive rift between the two brothers. Following this intense confrontation, both of them finally let go of the past. Right at this moment, Jonny's girlfriend Valentina calls to inform him that she found a package in his mailbox, sent by his father, containing a USB drive inside. To ensure the total safety of the flash drive, Valentina flies out to Hawaii in person, pulling the USB drive out from her undergarments to hand it over to Jonny. Jonny tells Pika to check what is inside, but this USB drive requires a 12-word password to decrypt. James remembers the receipt among his father's personal effects, thinking that the chaotic scribble written on it might just come in handy. Just as Pika is about to crack it open, an explosive shell suddenly flies right at the back of their car. A chopper hovers right above their heads, while they are stuck with nothing but a puny handgun. Valentina and James swap seats, with her driving the vehicle, while James goes to deal with the enemy. The helicopter unleashes a relentless barrage of heavy bombardment right down the road. Valentina's superb driving skills masterfully dodge the danger until the chopper's ammunition is completely depleted. Immediately following that, the motorcycle assassins appearing on the road launch a fierce assault against them. Taking in the situation, Valentina executes a rapid U-turn and slams hard on the brakes. Recovering his senses, an assassin instantly climbs onto the roof, stabbing wildly inside with a katana. Subsequently, another assassin breaks into the car from the back, prompting James to step up and engage him, while Jonny heads outside to trade blows with another killer. Valentina swerves the car violently from side to side in an attempt to shake off the assassins. Seeing how stubborn the assassin is, Valentina pulls off a full 360-degree drift, yet the killer still refuses to let go. Immediately following that, the assassin pulls a submachine gun from his waist in a desperate bid to stop Valentina. Jonny instantly gains control of the assassin's gun hand, while Valentina forces the killer hard against the roadside guardrail. The intense friction violently twists the assassin's body, causing that arm to rip completely free from his torso. At the exact same time, James is still fighting tooth and nail against his opponent, pinning the assassin down to scrape against the high-speed highway. Just when they think the crisis is averted, the helicopter unexpectedly shows up once again. James's gun is down to its last 2 bullets, but fortunately, the assassin's submachine gun is ripe for the taking. Before the clash, Valentina gives Jonny a bit of motivation, reminding him not to have terrible accuracy like he does in bed. However, after Jonny fires a volley of shots, he unsurprisingly misses every single one. When push comes to shove, they still have to rely on James. Just as they are celebrating, the chopper spins out of control and crashes straight toward them. Fortunately, their vehicle enters a tunnel, narrowly escaping a disaster. After breaking free from danger, Pika successfully cracks open the USB drive. Inside are a series of bank statements showing that $12 million entered this account over the past 3 years, and the owner of this account happens to be Governor Maho. At this point, the two brothers finally piece the entire puzzle together. Robichaud wanted to establish a casino here and needed someone to help legalize the gambling operation, so he spent $12 million to bribe the governor while hiring the Japanese mob to act as his muscle. And because Walter was hired by Robichaud's wife to investigate Robichaud, he accidentally uncovered the casino scheme, which ultimately brought about his fatal end. Returning home, James calls out for his wife several times, yet receives absolutely no response. So he dials her number immediately, only to spot her phone abandoned in a corner. Realizing that a disaster has struck, he rushes up to the second floor to search, only to find his two kids completely frozen in terror. His son informs him that their mother was snatched away by bad guys. Right at that moment, Jonny's phone receives a video message where Robichaud uses Layla and Honolulu as leverage, demanding that they hand over the USB drive. This thoroughly infuriates the Marine instructor, awakening a sleeping beast within him. James swings open the armory door and tells his brother to pack as much heat as he can possibly carry. Under the cover of darkness, the two breach Robichaud's villa, effortlessly taking out 2 sentries and making a pact to eliminate every single member inside within 15 minutes. James opens fire at a bodyguard upstairs, never expecting that the windows are made of bulletproof glass. The bodyguard takes a curious glance at the bullet hole in the glass and then foolishly slides the window open. With all the bodyguards outside the manor completely wiped out, Robichaud dispatches his security captain to check on the situation, only for Jonny to slice his throat with a single knife strike. Subsequently, the Japanese gang members chant their slogans as they prepare for battle. Watching them act all mystical and bizarre, Robichaud looks highly anxious. Wielding melee weapons, the mobsters search everywhere for any sign of James and Jonny. James crosses paths with them while wielding his weapon, and both sides throw down without saying a single word. Even though they have the numbers, their combat skills are completely trash, resulting in James eliminating every single one of them. Afterward, the two brothers regroup and locate Layla and Honolulu, but Robichaud is nowhere to be found. James originally intends to send them straight home, but Layla talks him out of it. Just as James is about to go look for his brother, Nakamura launches a sneak attack on him. Fortunately, Nakamura's marksmanship is absolutely garbage, completely failing to hit James. Following a brief exchange of gunfire, both of them completely run out of bullets. Nakamura grabs a katana from the adjacent wall, and as James tries to defend himself barehanded, he catches a slash from the blade. This gets Nakamura incredibly hyped up. James immediately wields a highly destructive heavy weapon, a spiked mace, crushing and severely injuring Nakamura on the spot. On the other side, Jonny tracks down Robichaud, who is preparing to make his escape. To his surprise, Robichaud's fighting skills are not weak either, leaving Jonny completely outmatched as the opponent pierces his shoulder with a sharp hook. Yet Robichaud does not permanently eliminate Jonny right away, insisting on rambling on with a bunch of mocking taunts. The moment he prepares to pull the trigger, Jonny already pulls the pin on a grenade. Right at this critical juncture, James arrives just in time, quickly diving into the water to pull his brother out safely. The following day, the governor is arrested to face the full weight of the law. Jonny decides to stay in Hawaii to live alongside James, and they plan to use the millions of dollars left behind by Walter to develop this island.